Vanakkam. Welcome back to our course on SAP Materials Management. In this session, we will be discussing on Material Requirements Planning. What is MRP and also what is the logic to run and how the MRP calculations are done. Before going into the session, let us see the answers for the quizzes of previous session. Can we enter demand, that is the PAR, in different planning buckets? Yes. The demand can be entered either day, weekly bucket, day bucket, or weekly bucket, or monthly buckets. Different buckets we can enter. A planned quantity of 100 numbers entered in week 50, 2022. What is the meaning of this? This means the 100 numbers should be available on the first day of the week 50. That is the meaning. So this is very important for you to understand what is the data entered into the plan. How to track the changes done in the plan. In MD63 page where you can display, you can go to the menu page, go to and select the item. First we have to select the item, then go to the menu, go to item history, and then we can see what are the changes done in the PAR. So we can see who changed, when changed, from which value to which value, all those details you can see. What is reorganization? Reorganization is clearing of old PAR from the system up to a specific period, which means the old demand. Why is it important to carry out the reorganization regular basis? Because if we don't clean the old PAR, that is the demand, on regular basis, these things will continue to be in system and unnecessary proposals will be given by the system, and also it will create a lot of exception messages. This will increase a lot of workload for the planners to handle many exceptions, and also there will be a lot of chaos. So it is best practice to clean the old demand from the system on regular basis. So far we discussed about the master data and then purchasing master data, demand management. Now we have to come into the planning process. So first we have to understand what is the logic behind planning, that is MRP. As we see here, MRP sits exactly in the middle of the entire business process. So the business starts with the sales plan, demand plan, and then we have the long-term planning. All these things are on the planning side. And then there is a supply side, which is the production or purchase. Those kind of things are happening from the production side. Right now, MRP is the one which is linking these two. So it is the engine which is driving entire planning process to ensure the right metal available in right time. So having a right MRP is very, very important, very crucial. So this is what is going to decide how the metal will be available in system. That is why I brought this MRP into these purchasing sessions, because purchasing people also should understand what is MRP, what is the logic behind MRP, what are the critical analysis need to be done in MRP. So what are the benefits of MRP? MRP balances the service level and it helps to reduce the cost and the capital loss. So it helps the MRP controllers for better productivity, right? That is the main purpose. Then it helps to ensure the right quantity of right metal at the right time. For this, a proper master data and transaction data should be done. Without master data, proper master data, we cannot do this activity. And then it helps the planners to do a proper proactive exception handling. That is the production order, purchase orders, any postponement, advancement or cancellation, these things can be done through this proper MRP. So these are the three major things, benefits of MRP. So planning has two major types. One is deterministic replenishment procedure, which is called MRP. Another is stochastic replenishment procedure, which is called consumption-based planning. In MRP, we have planning based on complete BOM explosion or no BOM explosion or master schedule items. Here the planning run depends on the types and also various steps are involved. Here the gross requirement calculation, net requirement calculation, the lot size based requirement calculations, all these things are happening in the deterministic replenishment procedure. In stochastic replenishment procedure, that is a consumption based planning, We have reorder point planning, forecast based planning, and time phase planning. So again, there are different forecast models are there: constant model, trend model, seasonal model, and seasonal trend model. In this course, we'll be discussing about the BOM exploded MRP, which is also taking care of the master schedule, and also reorder point planning. Later we will discuss. So these are the things we'll discuss. Other things we will not be discussing here. So the MRP starts with the inputs, that is the demand side, the sale orders, demand management, the PAR. These things, as we discussed, they are called as independent requirements. When you give the independent requirement, system will run MRP based on the bill of materials. It will propose the either schedule lines or purchase requisitions based on the settings we did. This purchase requisition can be converted into purchase orders. Then we buy the metal and keep them into the stock. This is the purchasing side. In parallel, MRP will also give the planned orders. These planned orders will be converted into production order, and then these also produced and kept into the warehouse stock. Meanwhile, for production orders, we would have created reservations. Similarly, for planned orders, there are dependent requirements. These things also MRP inputs, because when we have MRP for the parent product, first level BOM, it will explode. Then next level it has to run. No? For that, the dependent requirement is the input. Like that, it will be a cycle. A complete cycle will be running, and it will ensure that until the end of the bill of material, all MRP will run, and it will consider all the planning activities of all the metals in the BOM are done. So what is the logic of MRP? So MRP logic, it takes different inputs. One is the planning parameters in the metal master, and then it will consider what are all the demand, right? See, the planning parameters MRP metal master, we discussed MRP 1, 2, all these parameters in detail we discussed. And then demand, that is a PAR, sales order, and also the dependent requirement, what we discussed just now. This means what to produce, when to produce, how much to produce. That is another input. And then the another input is bill of material. What do we need, how much we need. That is a bill of material. That is, if I produce one product, I need metal A 4 numbers, metal B 5 numbers, means that is what the bill of material. And the inventory status, how much is there, how much on order, or what is the lead time. So these are the inputs. Based on these inputs, system will arrive at what is the gross requirement, and then it will consider what is the inventory available, then it will reach what is the net requirement. So with these things, system will give a procurement proposal which will be converted into production order or purchase order. And also another output from MRP is a exception message. Exception message is what system will say that there are some orders which we need to prepone or postpone or cancel because the situation in the business is changing on daily basis. So we need to prepone or postpone or cancel some orders depending on the situation of the market. So the exception messages is very important. All these things we'll discuss later. Now let us see how MRP works. So these are the steps of how MRP works. So MRP starts with net requirement calculation, lot size calculation, procurement definition, scheduling, and BOM explosion. In net requirement calculation, system compares the stock and receipts with the requirements. It will balance and give what is the net requirement. In lot size determination, system will arrive what is the order quantity. That is, we calculated net requirement. Now, based on lot sizing procedure, system will arrive at what is the order quantity to be procured. And then procurement decision is whether we have to buy the metal from outside or whether you have to produce inside or we have to do the stock transfer from another plant. And then scheduling is calculation of the dates for issue of the orders, receipt of materials, and etc. other activities. This is for scheduling purpose. And then next level. So once it is planned, system will go and check, do we need any further level of materials? It will explode the BOM. If there is no explosion of BOM, with that it stops. If there is explosion of BOM, system will proceed further. So these are the steps. We will discuss one by one here. To start with, what is the net requirement calculation? The net requirement calculation, system will check first the demand. The demand side involves sales orders, planned independent requirements, dependent requirements, the reservations, deliveries. Please note, safety stock is also demand. And then there is a supply side. Supply side involves planned orders, production orders, purchase requisition, purchase orders. So this is the warehouse stock is also considered because that is the inventory. What is the difference? That is the shortage. These are compared, the shortage is arrived. And then based on the lot size, system will propose what is the new proposal. This is how the net requirement will be calculated. How the lot size will be used, we'll see as the next step, but the shortage will be taken as a new proposal. So as we discussed just now, the lot size determination is very important. How the lot sizes are determining the sizes, the procurement quantity, let us discuss. There are three major types of lot sizing procedure. One is static procedure, another is periodic procedure, another is called optimum procedure. In static procedure, the procedure it is depend the static number of periods, like a lot for lot mean 1 to 1 or fixed lot. This is exactly the quantity or replenished to the maximum stock. So these are based on the static. Periodic means considering the period. For example, whether it has to consolidate daily basis or weekly basis or monthly basis, that is a periodic basis. Optimum procedure is to arrive at what is the optimum level of lot size, considering what is inventory cost, ordering cost, all those things. With the different methods like a part period method, days unit cost, graph reorder point, or dynamic lot size. Now, for our discussion purpose, we will discuss only the static and periodic. I suggest you to explore the optimum procedure after you get used to these two procedures, static and periodic, not now. Now let us understand how the lot size is arrived with a simple example, right, with the different proposals. For example, there is a requirement like 40 numbers of requirement for different periods. So if it is lot for lot, that is the exact lot size, system will give the planned order also 40, 40, 40. Sorry, 40, 40 and 70. Because the requirement, what exactly the requirement, system is given the planned order. This is for exact lot size. Now let us think of the fixed lot size. So fixed lot size, if it is defined as 50, means for requirement of 40, system has given the planned order of 50. And then the second period, no, again there is a requirement of 40, but earlier we have planned order of only 50, so there is a shortage. But we defined fixed lot size 50, so system is given another planned order for 50. The third period, the requirement is 70. Now already we have planned order for 100, but requirement was only 80, so there is a 20 excess. Now the requirement in the third period is only 70. So 70 minus 20, 50. System is giving one planned order for 50. This is in case of fixed quantity. Fixed quantity of 50. Fixed lot size with the quantity of 50. If the fixed lot size is defined, but the quantity is 45, what will happen? First two period is same, like the planned order will define 45, 45. But in the third period, system will give two proposals because having only 145 will not meet the requirement of 70. There will be still shortage. But since we defined fixed lot size 45, system is giving proposal of another 45. This is the two planned orders for 45, 45 are created. Now, but these two planned orders, they can be created consecutive periods, right? And also the last order may be defined in different way. So those things will be different things which you can discuss with the planning people, but this is how a typical standard system will behave. Now, if you are going for all these things, right, the exact size or the fixed lot size, these are all the static procedure. In periodic, whether it is the first period, second period, third period, what this may be day, this may be week, or this may be month. If you take this as the periodic lot size, then what will system will do? It will consider, for example, if it is within the day, these are requirements, it will consider all these things. It will give a proposal of 150 numbers for the day. All these things are, if they are within week, then system will give us weekly requirement. Like that, system will consider. Okay, this is a very simple way of explaining. Now let me explain you with further illustration. Here we see a requirement of material with different dates in a month, right? So let us see that how the lot size is working. All these things are taken as a working days, right? Monday to Sunday, all these things are taken as a working days here. And here, when you are using the lot for lot procedure, what is the requirement? Exactly for the requirement, system will propose a planned order or purchase requisition. So there are how many requirements are there, exactly as per that the proposals are also there. So this is the lot for lot. Now let us see the weekly lot size. In weekly lot size, system consolidate the week's requirements and propose the quantity. So please take note, WB is the standard weekly lot size, but we can also define 7 days requirements also consolidate, which can be customized. This can be customized in the system. Now, the standard lot size means system will consider the weekdays as defined from the calendar. That is, in system, if you have defined Monday to Sunday as a week, means all the requirements always calculate from Monday to Sunday. That should be available on the first day of that week. That is what the weekly lot says, WB. 7 days means the system will consider the requirements from the one day, and then from the day, for 7 days, what is the requirement, it will take the requirement. After that, if there are 2-3 days gap, means it will not consider anything. But again, when the requirement is coming, the next requirement is coming, from there again it will take what are the requirements of 7 days, like that will take. So there is a difference between the standard weekly lot size and 7 days week lot size. This you need to understand. Okay, according to that, your requirement dates also will change. Consolidated quantity also may change. Similarly, we have monthly lot size also. In monthly lot size, system will consolidate all requirement in the month. So here also we have standard monthly lot size MB or monthly lot size. No, that is again standard monthly lot size means it will start the requirement starting from first of the month until end of the month. All these things will be consolidated. System will give proposal that it will be available on the first of the month. But if we define the lot size, which is configured like a 30 or 31 days, system will take the requirement of 30 days. Then if there is a gap, it will give gap of 5 days or 10 days, whatever it is. And then when the next requirement is coming, from there it will start to count for another 30 days or 31 days. Then it will take the total requirement. So this is again the standard, the difference between the standard MB lot size and also the number of days what you consider. So these things, you have to be careful. So don't think that defining WB and 7 are same or defining MB or 30 are same. There is a difference, and because of this, your proposed quantity, proposed date also may change. So in SAP, the lot size data are impacted by various parameters because there are many requirements coming from supplier production. Based on this, the different data have to be created. So start with, it is a lot size procedure. That is what we discussed now, the weekly lot size, monthly lot size. And then there is a minimum lot size, there is a maximum lot size, there is a rounding value, there is a maximum stock level. So these are different parameters. So these things have to be used very productively so that we can get a right MRP proposal, which will reduce your number of efforts, number of activities to perform while buying or planning, and also having a proper split of the requirements so that you can manage them and administer them properly. Let me explain the how the lot size will be worked out when you are using the minimum lot size only. Now here the weekly requirements are given like this. On 2nd, 9th, 16th, weekly requirements are given here. So minimum loss is defined as 25. So what will system will give for the first week, it is taking 26 as 26. But in the second week, instead of 16, system is giving 25. Why? Because we define minimum loss is 25. The third week, again 22 is given. So here also system will give 25 only. In the fourth week, the requirement is 36, system is giving 25. Why? Because in the previous weeks, right, we have 38. Out of 38, we got requirements of 50 already. Now this 36 is there, no? So there is a 12 numbers excess. So 36 minus 12, 24. So even if you have 25, system will give the required quantity. That is why it is adjusting. See, even though it is giving minimum MRP, it will not give always the minimum. It will adjust it. So now if you take 23rd September, it is almost balanced, only one difference. But in case of 30th September, 35 means that's what now the one is reduced here, it is giving 34. Like that, system will give the minimum lot size. Please work out these things. You please put one more column and work on these numbers, how they are coming, so that you will get good clarity. And then when the proposal, when we maintain minimum lot size and maximum lot size, now we are putting a restriction, one more restriction, maximum lot size. So here we are putting minimum lot size and the maximum it can give only 30, like that. So what will happen now in the 30th September date, no, the requirement of 34 system will give only 30 because the maximum defined as 30. So for remaining things, system will give you another minimum proposal 25. Like that, system will do the minimum and also considering maximum. Because of this maximum, why we are defining maximum? Because the supplier or the production team will say that this is what the maximum batch I can do. Don't create any order more than this. Because of this, we define the maximum. Accordingly, our lot size is also defined. Our proposal also will come out. Now, when you are defining what is my minimum stock level, maximum stock level, along with rounding value. So whatever is coming as the proposal, I want to round them to like an extra 10 or 30, like that if you want to round. Then system will propose the quantity 30, 30, 30 like this. But please note that all the adjustments and the final requirement will be adjusted. So what I suggest you that what is the column of weekly, that you take it, what is the proposal it is given, find out what is the difference between the requirement and what is the proposal given. You would have observed that the system is getting the adjustment. This needs a little bit of exercise from your side to understand this concept clearly. But understanding this is very important because as a purchasing person, you should be able to clearly explore these things, because if unnecessary lot sizes are defined, it will create lot of purchase requisitions, purchase orders, or it will create one purchase order, big purchase order. You have to follow up that same purchase order. There are many issues. So you can discuss with the planning person or discuss with the PP team also. Then you can fine tune them. It will be very helpful. So earlier we discussed about this rounding procedure, right? So what is a rounding procedure? Rounding procedure is used to round off the quantity which is proposed by the system when the requirement arrived, so that the supplier or the production team can produce according to that. For example, the batch size may be 100. So if you are giving a requirement of 45, they will not be able to produce 45. They will produce 100 only. Similarly, supplier is having a pack size of 100. Even if you place purchase order for 45, you will not be able to supply in 45. You can give only in 100. So these kind of requirements, you can use them with the rounding value, right? So the examples of how the rounding value will be proposed from the requirement quantity, different requirement quantity, how the rounding value will be there is explained here. Always rounding will be to the next round off. For example, 45 will make as 100, 90 will make as 100, 102 will make as 200, like this. And we can also create rounding profiles, right? Which means there is a threshold and rounding rule. We can define some rules. For example, from 1 to 10, I want to follow this rounding value this much. From 11 to 20, where I want all this rounding value. From 20 to 30, I want all this kind of rounding value. Like that also we can define. This is called rounding profile. These things are managed in the configuration from PP side. This also, if you need from purchasing side, these are the settings you need to done. You need to be done. Please discuss with the purchase planning team or your PP team so that they can help you to define this. So, but you have to define what is your requirement. So in MRP, system has worked out what is the net requirement quantity. Then the net requirement quantity is based on the lot size, how much quantity has to be ordered. That is done. Next is that we have to define from where we need to procure. That is called the procurement definition. The procurement types, there are two major procurement types. One is that in-house production or external production, or both are also possible, because in system they give both also option. But there is a internal and also external. Internal means we produce inside, external means buy from outside. In case of in-house production, it may be a regular in-house production or it may be a phantom production also, right? What is phantom production? You please discuss with the PP team, or I am planning to put one video in the PP course. What is phantom production? Those things. Maybe you can refer it, but not now. I will put it later. Then coming to the external procurement. External procurement, it may be a stock transfer from another plant, or it may be a subcontracting purchase, or it may be the direct procurement, right? Anything may happen. So these are the procurement types. So here system will say produce inside or procure from outside. Accordingly, system will create either planned order or purchase requisitions. So now system has arrived at the quantity, then it has got that what is to be where it has to be procured, all these things. But what is the date, right? When it we have to get it? All these things have to come. No, the BOM level by level we need to get it. So that is what is happening in this scheduling activity. So this is a typical example of how the scheduling will happen in the MRP backward scheduling. This is called backward scheduling. Now there is a finished product. Let us go from top to bottom. Finished product, then a sub-assembly. There are two sub-assemblies required. You please refer the left side of this page. Two sub-assemblies are required. Then to produce sub-assembly 1, we need two components. Sub-assembly 2, one more component. And then the components need some raw material. Like that, there is a dependencies there. Now, to produce a finished product, right? There is a finish date for this. So there is a lead time. So there is a start date for that. Depending on the lead time, there is a start date. On that start date, the sub-assembly should be available there. Sub-assembly 1 and sub-assembly 2. The lead time for sub-assembly 1 and sub-assembly 2, according to that start time should be there. Now sub-assembly 1 start on a specific date, and it is to produce it we need a component 1 that is purchased. So based on the lead time, there will be purchase date for the particular component 1, right? That is the scheduling for this sub-assembly 1. For sub-assembly 1, there is another component 2 is required. That component 2 is in-house production, right? Component is in-house production. To produce that component, we need raw material 1. So raw material 1, we need a purchase requisition. So this is the day of the purchase requisition have to start. So this component sub-assembly 1 is having a start date of raw material, which is having this purchase requisition of raw material 1 start date. From there, we have to start to complete the sub-assembly 1. In case of sub-assembly 2, we need to have a component 3 that has to be produced, and then from there raw material 2 is required, right? That is having a purchase requisition date, which has the starting date from the day 2 or something. So like this, the scheduling will happen, backward scheduling, right? I hope it is clear. Otherwise, please stop this page and then please go through them, right? It will give you a very good idea that how the scheduling is happening. This is typically a backward scheduling. Here, I will try to explain the scheduling, backward scheduling with the typical MRP terms, okay, and the SAP terms. Now, in-house production, if you take, whenever we need any product, that is called as requirement date or available date, okay, there is a date. Now, based on the GR processing time, we need to have the GR date, that is the goods receipt date. Then this goods receipt date, based on this, then the lead time, we have to start the production, that is the order start date. And then this order has to be processed. Process means as a prepared administration. There is a opening period, there is a opening date. That is how scheduling will be there for any production orders, other planned orders, right? So there will be opening date, order start date, order finish date, available date, requirement date for in-house production. If you take external purchase items, again there is a requirement date, available date. Now we have the same GR processing time based on the GR date is there. Now there is a planned delivery lead time, and also there is a purchase department processing time, because they need to get approval, they need to get some negotiation, all these things they have to do. There is a lead time, so they have to have the release date from there, and then there is a opening period. So these are the various activities involved. This is how scheduling will happen. All these things can be configured in system so that you will have a proper planning of either it is a production or it is external. You can have proper planning and also proper scheduling so that you will release the order on time, either to production or supplier. So now planning of one material with the quantity, scheduling, all these things done, then system will go and check, is there any other material to be planned? So it will explode the BOM. While exploding BOM, system will follow the steps. First, it will check what is the BOM usage. It will go and check what is the BOM usage. It will select the BOM according to the usage. And then it will also check the alternate BOM, anything is there, depending on the lot size. And then what is the status of the BOM, right? It will check. And also will check what is the explosion date, whether the right date is there or not. And then it will go and check what are the items which are allowed for the production. And then it will get what is the dependent requirement quantities, how much quantity is required, what is the usage quantity. From there again, the cycle will continue. What we discussed now in the beginning, the quantity is arrived. Again, system will arrive at what is the shortage, what is the lot size, all those things. It will continue. The cycle will continue like this. It will explode like this until the end of the bottom level material, which is the purchasing item. See, any production, there will be scrap. So we need to consider the scrap also when you are planning. If you need exactly that material, if you plan exactly the material what is to produce, if you do not consider the scrap, then we may end up with shortage of materials. The scrap can be treated in different ways in SAP. SAP is given different options. One is called component scrap, assembly scrap, operation scrap, and the net indicator operation scrap. Component scrap means it increases the required quantity of the component. It may be maintained metal, master, or bill of metal. Assembly scrap means it increases the required quantity of all components, which means header quantity itself will increase, how much we have to produce. This is maintained in metal master of the assembly. Operation scrap is it override the assembly scrap. Operation scrap means it reduces the operations quantity in subsequent operations. It is maintained in the routing. These are the some scrap which are there. I will explain how these things are having impact with some numbers. So start from the top. There is order quantity of 1000. So there is assembly scrap of 5%. Now let us start from the left to right. There is a screw. There is assembly scrap of 5% of the finished product. Screw, if you take, there is a component scrap of 10%. So this means there is a gross requirement required, which is 1155. How this is arrived? We have this 1000 into 1.05, that is multiplied with 1.1. With this, we arrive at 1155. This means to produce 1000 numbers of finished product, 5% addition finished product has to be produced because assembly scrap is 5%. During this production, there will be 10% of screw will be damaged. So ultimately, we have to buy the screws of 1155 instead of only 1000. So 155 screws we have to buy extra. That is the meaning of this. Similarly, bearing. Bearing is having only the assembly scrap, which means we have to buy only 50 numbers extra. That is a 5% of 1000 we have to buy addition. Then casting. This is a component scrap 10% net. This means system will not consider the assembly scrap, but it is taking only the component scrap here. Okay. And the net indicator. Net indicator also behave like this. The power panel also similar to the casting. And then the component scrap. Component scrap, it will consider the 20% is there. So it will take 5% of assembly scrap plus 20% of the component scrap. Like that it will take. So all these things, please go through them. These are also explained in the SAP help portal also. You can go and see them with example. The same examples, I put them here as a chart. You can go through them and review them so that you will understand them. Because if you do not plan without considering the scrap, you will always end up with metal shortages. So we have to plan them. How to use them, please discuss with the planning and put it them into the system. So in this session, we discuss what are the benefits of MRP, what are the types of MRP, the logic of MRP, different steps involved, and like a net requirement calculation, lot size procedure, procurement definition, scheduling, VM explosion. Also, we discuss what is the impact of scrap in planning process. Now let us discuss the quiz questions for this session. What are the three major benefits of MRP explained in this session? What are the outputs of MRP? What is the difference between gross requirement and net requirement? What are the three major lot sizing procedures? What is the difference between weekly lot size and 7 days lot size? What is the role of the opening date in scheduling? What is the role of scrap in MRP? Okay, we'll see the answers in the next session. In the next session, we will discuss how to run MRP in SAP and how to use various selection parameters. Meanwhile, please try to understand more about this MRP logic we discussed here, because this is the key point which you have to understand. These are mandatory to understand not only by planner but by each buyer also. Meanwhile, please go through our course, give your feedback to improve the flow and contents, recommend to your friends and colleagues to subscribe to our channel. Thank you. See you in the next session. Take care. Bye.